Today we have Trevor Mallard on, joining us here. How's it going? How's your campaign been today?
Well, it's been good today. I voted in the morning, spent quite a lot of time during the day encouraging people to have early votes. Did a bit of video work around Eastbourne. We're promoting the cycle and walkway trail in from Eastbourne, well actually from Pencarrow Head right round to Seatoon, but the bit that we were talking about was the bit round the bays, which is at parts good and at parts awful.
Just very quickly, National said they'll give $100 million to cycleways. Will Labor be doing any work for that?
We'll do exactly the same, and we'll actually look at doing quite a lot more, because we've been looking at the billions of dollars that are spent on motorways and other roads, and we think that you can get better value for money. And both for transport wise, but also health wise. If you can get people onto bikes more often, it not only helps transport wise, but it also means people are a lot healthier, and medium term
Did you push for that? I've seen your Twitter profile and Facebook. You out on the cycle?
I do a lot of cycling. Not quite as much recently. You can probably tell my cheeks are chubbier than they were 3 months ago. But that's campaigning. Campaigning is often less exercise and bad food for me.
How do people get these policies through?
Generally talking to their colleagues within their particular parties. In the Labor Party, we've had quite a group of us who have been cycling advocates for a long time. So we spend a bit of time together. Chris Hipkins, who's the MP for Rumataka, he rides his bike in from Upper Hutt every now and again. Not often enough, but every now and again and there's a few of us, including Chris, who've been around Taupo a few times.
Cool. Yeah. Does the Green Party have any influence on that? Talking coalitions, maybe?
The Green Party really leads some of the cycling advocacy work. Kevin Haig is a person who's their health spokesperson. He's a cyclist too, bit slower than me.
Cool,
but he's a neat guy and a great cyclist, and so we do work on these issues together, especially around cycle safety. That's a big part of getting people confident enough to ride their bikes in a commuter sense is getting them feeling safe.
Cool. Also joining us today is Gordon Copeland from the Conservative Party. Tēnā koe, Gordon, are you here?
Yes, right here, Glenn, and pleased to talk to you today.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, Gordon.
So we're going to talk about some of the events this week. We'll be back at the moment. So this week we've had a few things happen. Judith Collins resigned.
Yeah, Judith Collins. Trevor, what do you think about dirty politics?
Well, I'm not that surprised that Judith Collins ended up resigning. I know her quite well. I've had a number of clashes with her, and frankly, she's a pretty heavy duty player, and the thing that I'm pleased about is that it's all come out, and I think the sort of like the lesson is, and Gordon may not agree, but if you're going to have a big scrap with someone in politics, you're much better to do it openly, out in the public, say what you think, not be a backstabber.
I mean, in the book, Judith Collins told Cameron Slater that just something about you at the Rugby World Cup function. Is any of that true?
Oh, no. What is said is absolutely true. I'm a person who's spent a lifetime opposing apartheid, and part of the diplomatic things that you do say is that, isn't it great that New Zealand was involved in the fight against apartheid? But isn't it good that it's all over now?
So you did give the speech.
Oh, I absolutely did give the speech.
So is the dirty politics hacker correct? His findings, his tweets, are they accurate, do you think?
Well, yes, I think they are. I mean, I haven't seen anything in the book or in the stuff that's come out subsequently that has been proven to be inaccurate.
We'll go to Gordon now. Gordon, are you worried about dirty politics?
Yes, I'm very disappointed personally in John Key for having an alignment with a person who makes his living by slandering people.
Yeah.
I just think that's wrong, and as I say, I'm very, very disappointed that John has chosen to go down that pathway. He doesn't need to.
Are you worried that if you got into Parliament, you could be propping up a government that you're disappointed in?
we would want to do whatever we can as the Conservative Party to bring this kind of thing to an end. We're very, very much dedicated to honesty, transparency, all those good values, and this is going the opposite direction.
So,
but look, if John's got any brains at all, he's surely learnt a lesson through this, that he's just better to keep away from it.
yes, of course. So do you think things like dirty politics are taking away airtime from policy talk? Because that's, like, in the media for weeks now. We've had dirty politics, and we're moving away from policy. And should we be talking about policy close to an election and avoiding just kind of like, or what I would call gossip politics, which is kind of backdoor stuff that doesn't actually affect real New Zealanders?
Well, I think Harold Macmillan said it well. He said politics is defined by events, and the reality is, like it or not, this has happened. From a Conservative point of view, I'm disappointed that it happened, because it's basically the only people we see on TV at the moment are John Key, David Cunliffe and Winston Peters. There are some other parties out there who would like to get some airtime, but, one would expect the media to follow up these events, and it's sadly something we have to live with. But as I say, I'd rather it wasn't happening.
Can I say from my perspective, it would be much better if we could get past it, if we could actually focus on what are the policy differences between the major and the minor parties, so people know the sort of choices that they're making. Because I think what's happening now is that a lot of the debate is being blurred, and it's not clear what those differences are.
So do you think maybe this is turning particularly young voters away from voting or registering?
I just don't know. I mean, I'm not a young person. I've been working hard out in the hut to get people registered. We still seem to be getting lots and lots of people registered, and you can actually go along to an early polling booth and get registered there. But I can see why people might not. I can see how people could get disillusioned if everyone thought that Cameron Slater was running the government. Well, you'd be pretty damned upset.
Yeah, you would be.
I think the comment I'd make there, if I could, is just that John Key must be number one in the country for selfies, but I think Colin Craig's not far behind him. Young people just don't seem to be able to get enough of the guy. So, in a funny kind of way, for whatever reason, we're getting an increasing uptake from young people, so it's great.
Well, I make a requirement with young people when they do selfies with me. They've got to have Photoshop, and they've got to get my skin cleaned up and about 3K off each cheek.
So, you have a Young Conservatives now, don't you? Is that really that popular? Because, I mean, I would say a lot of young people might not like the Conservative Party just because they're socially conservative, and young people tend to be a bit more liberal. Young people tend to support gay marriage. Young people tend to be pro-abortion. What do you have to say to that?
I think that's an oversimplification. For example, I've seen writing similarly around the world now that because a lot of young people today have grown up in broken families where they've had it pretty tough, many of them are actually going back and saying, gosh, it sounded pretty good in Grandma and Granddad's day when people got married and stuck together and had happy families. And I recently read it was in the Dom Post, a very, very good article out of the UK, which this woman journalist said, well, actually, I've actually never met a woman yet who, once she has children, doesn't want to be married. So there's still a place, I think.
I'm going to tell you, Gordon, I've met quite a few of them, and they've generally been beaten by the husband.
Yeah, one interesting thing there was an article in the Dom Post about one of your number 5 on the list saying that the anti-smacking bill has led to more suicide.
Youth suicide, youth prostitution, and even STIs. This is from your 5th on the list, Edward Safai. And he would make it in within the 5% threshold. Do you agree with what he's saying?
I know of no particular link between the passage of that bill and suicide. Mm-hmm. Suicide does result, from hopelessness. It's very, very complex. sadly, I have a number of friends who have children who've committed suicide, and
you think that
it's
anti-smacking law has
thing
made
which
that?
doesn't seem to define any boxes that you can put it into. So I wouldn't personally make that link at all.
So you wouldn't agree with Edward on that point?
No, so I wouldn't make that link.
Okay, so let's move on. So, Internet Mana. Georgina Bayer has been unhappy that the Mana Party is going to work with the Internet Party over this. Does the Labour Party plan on working with Internet Mana?
We've got no plan. We've made it clear that they won't be part of any government that we're forming. You can't stop them voting for us if they get into Parliament and they want to cast their votes for the Labour Party. Then there's nothing that we can do constitutionally to stop them. But they won't be in the ministry, as they say.
So if you needed Internet Mana to form a coalition and get into government, would you do that?
No, it's been made pretty clear, very clear, that any sort of voting arrangement, again, you can't stop them saying they're going to vote for you. And you can't stop the Governor-General appointing you on the basis that they're going to vote for you. But we're not going to make any undertakings to them that they'll be ministers. And that's a normal thing that a coalition agreement's based on.
But to simplify it, so you would rather be working with Internet Mana than have a national government?
Yes, I would. Absolutely would prefer to be supported by them, but that's still different from a coalition agreement.
So
it even extends to the Conservative Party, Trevor. You'd probably prefer to have us with you than Internet Mana.
Oh, it's a close call, Gordon.
Well,
I mean, if that Edward's in there, he seems worse than some of the Internet Party people.
I mean, Gordon, what are your thoughts on the Internet Party?
I haven't got a lot, to be honest. I just think it's inexplicable that someone just put $3 million into something.
Colin Craig's put a lot of money into the Conservative Party.
He's got a lot of money, but I'm just amazed that people like Lara Harney and other people have just snuggled up to him. I just find it incredible. And I guess that from their point of view, and probably from Honey's point of view, he thought all his birthdays would arrive at once. He suddenly got some money, because I know for a fact that Honey has said to me a couple of times in the campaigns, Gordon, I've got no money.
Oh, no. Conservative Party are getting bankrolled by Colin Craig, though, too. How different is it?
Oh, well, it's very, very different indeed. Colin is a great guy, a very successful entrepreneur. He's not rolling in money like Kim.com, but he has given that up. His full-time occupation and his full-time call, if you like, in life now is politics, and that's what he's focused on. He wants to be in Parliament. If he gets into Parliament, he will be an outstanding MP, and he's got a great deal to offer this country. So, and by the way, he's not putting nearly as much funding into this campaign as last, because he's had some other very, very large...
Yeah, but how different is he from Kim.com? It's millions of dollars. It isn't just thousands that they're donating.
I'm just saying the whole motivation is completely different.
You mean you like Colin and you don't like Kim?
Sorry?
You mean you like Colin and you don't like Kim? Is that the difference? It's not a difference of principle, really, is it?
Kim's not going to go into Parliament. This is a plaything. I'm saying that for me and for Colin and for the Conservative Party, it's not. It's about determining good governance for this country for the betterment of the people, and that's what motivates you and me, and I'm pretty sure it motivates Trevor. Whereas I think for Kim.com, it's just a plaything.
Cool.
We'll go to the latest fad that he's involved in.
Cool. We'll go to a break now. We'll be back very soon after this song. Kia ora koutou, ko Glenn McConnell tēnei. We're back on 107.2 Secret FM. Joining us today is Trevor Mallard from the Labour Party and Gordon Copeland from the Conservatives. Now, we were talking about dirty politics and all of that before. Let's talk about actual policies now. One that's been big has been housing. Trevor Mallard, you do immigration, don't you?
I do.
What will the Labour Party restrict foreign ownership?
Yes, we would. In particular, residential housing and farms.
Yeah.
We see no good reason for having offshore landlords buying up houses using cheap overseas money because interest rates are lower, so that they can afford to pay more than Kiwi young families who'd like to get into them. So, yep. So we'll certainly do that.
Sorry for that, Gordon. Did the Conservatives agree?
I don't think we've really got a clear policy around the ownership of residential properties in cities. We certainly have a very clear policy around the sale of farmland to non-residents, which we totally oppose as being... The reality, I think, for us is that we want New Zealand and New Zealanders to stop selling stuff to overseas owners, because really the reality is that once the transactions it's a one-time, and then from here to the end of time, all of the profits from that land or the business go overseas, and that's just not the way to build a wealthy country.
So essentially
you've got to own things to do that, and we believe very much in an ownership society.
So you'd agree with the Labour Party on that one?
Yeah, to some degree. We want, of course, to give more help to first-home buyers.
How will you do that?
And with that in mind, our policy would be that a first-home buyer that builds a new house, we would give them back 50% of the GST they pay on that new house.
So similar
to a limit of $300,000.
Kind of similar to national there.
300,000 of GST or 300,000 of value?
300,000 of building costs, including GST.
Right.
That's about 20 grand.
Cool. What will Labor do
in terms of a 50% refund to help those young people?
Okay. There's a couple of policies that Labor's pushing in the area. The first is to get a warrant of fitness for all rental homes, because we have a lot of rental homes now that are leaky, not well insulated, and not fit to be lived in, and we see plenty of those. So
that could potentially push house prices up.
It could do that, but I think if it's done gently and carefully, then I think we'll end up with better quality rentals. And I think that, just thinking from a health perspective, in the hut, we get TB. I mean, it's a disease of poverty, and it shouldn't be happening. The other thing, which I think is more important in the longer term, is that over the next 10 years we're going to build 100,000 affordable homes and sell them to first-home buyers. With a undertaking that the people will live in them themselves, rather than having them rented out.
One question: are those going to be like residential houses or apartments?
There'll be a mixture. They'll mainly be residential houses, but there will be apartments as well. It will depend on location. There are plenty of places around the hut where there's room for full residential, not quite quarter-acre sections, but big sections. But there are also some other places around where you could do some pretty nice two-bedroom apartments or three-bedroom apartments, which would be good for first homes.
Just on the issue of rental housing, I have a lot of sympathy for what Trevor said. I worked with the Dunedin City Council when I was in Parliament. I had an office down there. And we talked about having a system of A, B, C grades for student flats and other flats too in Dunedin. And actually, what it does is it incentivises landlords to upgrade their flats. And of course, some of them down there, as is well known, were just dreadful.
Cool.
And there has been a great improvement in the quality of student flats in Dunedin in the last few years.
That's cool.
It is a workable thing.
We'll go to a break now, and we'll be
keep the bad guys out of the.
We'll be back to talk youth voting and engagement. Thanks for joining us.
Kia ora, welcome back.
Hey.
So we want to talk a few youth issues before we wrap up here with Trevor and Gordon Copeland. So youth votership. So votership, as we know, on the whole is down. We only had 32% of people who were eligible to vote didn't show up last time. What do you think parties can do to get that number up?
I think there's a number of things, and part of it is getting enrolment up, and really the best way of getting enrolment up is to approach individual people and to get younger people to do it. Yeah. So we've had a team of younger mainly, but I've been doing a bit of the work myself. People out there doing enrolments and have got well over 1,000 this year to get people on the roll. But the other thing that we're trying is using Facebook and Twitter and video. I've been doing a series of 1 to 2 minute videos, got 13 of them up at the moment, and am sending them out via Facebook and Twitter and getting a really good reaction. Some of them, one of them we did on housing in the actually had a reach of 80,000 people.
Yeah.
So it was just, some of that stuff is going brilliantly.
What about you, Gordon? Conservatives looking for it?
We've got one of our full-time team who's been working with young people virtually for the last 3 years. He's an ex-professional rugby player, so he cuts a lot of ice with young people, and basically, as Trevor said, we're doing Facebook and other forms of Twitter and other forms of social media.
Yeah.
Also, getting Colin involved in talking to young people's groups. He's done a couple of debates, for example, at universities, which have been very well attended, including one here in Wellington that we had back in May.
Have you got any policies on...
We're just finding there are some social conservatives amongst young people, and they're making our party their home.
Have you got any policies on university entrance, maybe? Or affordability?
No. We're of the view, really, that there may be too many young people in New Zealand actually going to university. We're very, very focused on growing the skill level and the readiness for work of people who are not academically qualified. I mean, we're about 20,000 people short in this country right now.
Right.
So there's a gap there, and I think we want to see more young people going to that. We're also
what about the Labour Party?
The Labour Party's certainly got some policy in the apprenticeship area. We think it's a scandal the number of young people who leave school or leave a course and very soon after that get unemployment benefit.
Yeah.
What we want to do is we want to increase the number of apprenticeships, and our policy for that is to give 1 year's dole for a young person is 9,100.
Yeah.
We will give it to an employer who undertakes to take on an apprentice, and that way, and it fits in with the housing, building affordable houses. What we want to do is to build up skill base, give people jobs, give them work relationships, and rather than spend the money on the dole, which we think is money down the drain.
Cool. That's cool.
We're with you on that, Peter.
Just randomly, the Internet Party wants to make university or tertiary education free. What does Labour have to say about that?
First of all, we just can't afford it. That would be a massive hole in any government's budget. But I'm also of the view that there's a bit of private benefit. Already the vast majority of the costs of the university are paid by the government. You only pay a proportion of them. And what most of us discover is that over time you go to university, get good qualifications, you get paid much more than the $14.61 paid to cleaners in my electorate who are paying tax for you to go.
Yeah, Gordon, do you agree with that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool.
Our big push on education would be to be spending less money on the ministry and more money on actually teaching, and that would be right through all levels, right from preschool right through to postgraduate work. We want to up the level of expertise in the teaching and basically get better results for our buck.
Okay.
For our dollar.
We'll wrap it up soon. In 8 minutes, so we will be joined by Te Reo Flavell. And he might be discussing making Te Reo Māori compulsory to be taught in all schools, not for all students to learn it. Would you agree with that, Gordon?
No, I think we should encourage it, but compulsion is something that.
But I think if you listen to the question, it wasn't compulsion; it was effectively a compulsory option that schools will be compelled to offer. I think that's good. I mean, even. Now, pushing 30 years ago, 2 of my 3 kids went to a school where they were in a bilingual unit, made an enormous difference to their understanding of New Zealand and their relationship with Maori New Zealanders. And I just think it's a wonderful thing. We've got to do it. My generation, it's too late for us, but my grandchildren, I want all of them to have that option.
Right. So would you agree with that, Gordon?
Well, my grandchildren are all pretty proficient at Te Reo just by going to St Joseph's School, so I think that's great. It is an official language.
But not everyone's given that opportunity.
Should to know it a bit more than my generation did. That's for
sure.
Should
all schools be teaching it?
Oh yes, I think that it should be taught in all schools. So it should be compulsory from that point of view. But if individuals, I'm not saying that every child would compulsorily have to have to do a certain course,
Cool.
as we do with English, for example.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you. I think at least at the very basic level, if we're talking about pronunciation, we're talking about greetings, we're talking about some basic New Zealand Indigenous culture, then I think everyone who goes to primary school should have some.
Is that Labour Party policy?
Yes, it is.
I'm
Yep,
thinking
yep.
of, if you like, majoring in the language, like you might.
Well, no,
major
that's a
in
that's a
German or
different thing,
something,
Gordon. No one's saying that.
Yeah.
Good place to leave it, tēnā koe. Tēnā kōrero, I mean. Thanks for joining us. That was Trevor Mallard from the Labour Party and Gordon Copeland from the Conservative Party. They're standing in Heart South.
Tēnā koutou katoa.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for talking to us, Trevor. So we're going to go to some music now, and shortly we're going to be speaking to the Maori Party co-leader, Mr. Flavell, about their new, or not their new policy, but their
Launch policy. Pretty much one of the only policies that's been discussed this week.
We'll be back after this.
Kia ora koutou. We're back, and we're joined now by Te Ururoa Flavell, the Maori Party co-leader. Tēnā koe mātua.
Kia ora, nice to talk to you.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you on.
So the new policy, or is it new policy, or is it relaunched policy, the new Te Reo Maori in schools policy? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Our statistics tell us that the number of speakers of Te Reo Māori has not moved in any way for the positive. In fact, it's actually gone backwards. The numbers have declined. And so it's our view that if we continue to do the same thing in the same way, then we'll get the same results, and which has meant that we've decided to change the whole view about the delivery of Māori. So that means we have restructured or presented a proposal, at least through a new Māori Language Act, which would allow the delivery or the mechanisms to regenerate the growth of Te Reo Māori to fall back into the hands of the iwi.
Yeah,
We'd say that they've got the vested interest to get it right, and therefore, why should they not have that opportunity to do that?
And is this bill supported by the national government?
It only came in at the end of the last parliament, so it's still relatively new. They made sort of government the National Party was supportive of it because we were in a relationship accord with National, which allowed us to get approval for it first reading. And Labour, I'm not too sure where they're at. They allowed it to go through, as pretty much most of the parties allowed it to go through the first reading, which basically allows the debate to happen about whether people believe we're on the right track or otherwise, and then we'll see what happens. So it's sort of still being worked out in a sense. Still some work to be done.
Yeah.
But it has passed its first reading, or the first stage of 4 stages through to become law.
So what you're looking to do is make Te Reo Māori compulsory to be taught, but not for students to all learn it. Is that correct?
We want it to be compulsorily available,
Yeah.
certainly at the primary level, and to be again available at the secondary level.
And early childhood as well, was it?
Well, people have those options at the moment, and of course they can go to a number of options from childcare to kohanga reo through to early childhood centres and so on. So those options are already available for those who want to take it up there. And the main thing is, of course, that in terms of the nation, we believe that it's a good look for our nation to be able to firstly tidy up and bring an element of respect.
So will you be looking for fluent teachers to be teaching, or just courses for already existing teachers?
Well, teachers always have courses in professional development, and would expect that those who are not sort of up there would need to get a hand. We don't expect every teacher to be fluent, because that's just not.
But would you be having
right now.
One per school, or just?
No, well, that's for the school to determine. But at the moment, you might have one who might be a resource teacher of Māori comes in and gives a hand. But the hope would be that actually all teachers become upskilled. In the recent past, probably about a year or so ago, we introduced a thing called Tātai Ako, which is basically a platform for cultural competency of all teachers. So in the past, we've had it through research that some teachers in our education system are not culturally competent, and that's why they have a disconnect with the students that they teach, Māori and Pacifica in particular. The Tātai Ako sets the standard firstly for those who want to go into training college. As they go through the course and to retain their professional qualifications, they must demonstrate certain standards of cultural competency to remain within teaching.
Yeah. So of your latest policy, it doesn't seem like it will be big changes for Te Reo Māori.
Well, hopefully it's a step up. It's about pushing the boundaries a little bit further, because some schools while there's an element of goodwill in a sense to schools to make it available for students. The fact is that many schools, depending on the leadership, don't do that, and we're talking about it. It's got to be available for those students that wish to take it. That it's
How
got to
would
be
that be
compulsorily
judged?
available.
Would this be like
Say that
error?
again?
How would it be judged? Is this going to be Education Review Office or?
That's right. Well, that's the agency that's charged with keeping a check on things.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
How would they know?
Well, they do regular visits to schools on cycles ranging from everything from
Yeah.
1 year cycles to 3 year cycles and even longer. So depending on how the agency sees what's being delivered in schools across the board anyway, they have every right to go back into the schools to check on those on the delivery of the language.
Yeah, cool. So, I think we have to go soon, but
Sorry, my mic's not on. So, with this new policy, do you think it's actually going to make a big difference to the Maori language in the long term? Are we going to see a big difference from this, or is this just kind of more a smaller policy that just needs to happen? Because it's
Yeah,
still
sort of
not
two parts.
compulsory.
No, there's sort of two parts to it. One is that this is an effort to take the country with us in terms of learning the language. That is to have, as I say, having the language compulsorily available means that every student in the country will come across Māori language. in
Should
one
we
form or
ever make
another.
it compulsory?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of groundwork to be done around that. Compulsorily available says that actually it's on the right way, and therefore it's on the schools to make sure that it is available.
yeah.
in
Eventually,
that state, but we also got to bring teachers through to be able to deliver that.
eventually, do you think we will be having every student learning Te Reo Māori?
Well, if we get an opportunity to implement the policy, that the theory will be absolutely. The difficult, well, I said the difficult. Sorry, that's not right. The issue is that having it available and having Māori language speakers are two different things. So I'm pretty clear in my background that there's no way that somebody will be a fluent speaker in the space of 1 or 2 or 3 years unless they are immersed in the language. That's pretty clear. What
Cool.
it is, however, is about taking the country forward in terms of an understanding of the culture and the language through the language, and that will add to, I suppose, our nationhood, our feeling of nationhood, just as much as everybody now accepts that they can sing the national anthem in Māori.
Yeah.
At this point in time, it's a simple matter of pronunciation. Every week,
Cool.
every year, we have Māori Language Week,
We'll just
and that is about conscientising the country towards the Māori language.
we'll just let you go soon. Are you looking forward to the debate on Campbell Live this afternoon or evening?
Yeah, I am. It's supposed to be pretty informal, and we're just
Yeah.
sitting around the table. Hopefully, it'll be pretty good.
Do you think you might get to sit next to Colin Craig, maybe?
I'm not too much fussed around that. You still got to have a meal. As long as they give a nice meal, I'll be happy.
Awesome. Thanks for coming.
That's great. Thanks for having us. Oh, thanks for speaking
All right,
to
Dan,
us.
thanks a lot.
Thank
No
you.
problem,
no
That
problem.
was the
Okay.
Maori Party co-leader, Mr.
Te
Te
Ururoa Flavell.
Flavell. So we're going to have some music, and then we're going to wrap up this week in politics and just have some ad lib stuff. If you want to get in touch, you can call the tip line. Numbers on the website, beehivemandate.co.nz, and you can send us a tweet or get in touch on Facebook, on the Facebook page, or Twitter at Beehive Mandate or Facebook. Sure, welcome back. Okay, so we've done the show in a bit of a weird order today because we had Trevor Mallard in the studio. Hope you enjoyed that. So now we're going to wrap up this week. Here's Glenn with This Week in Politics.
Yeah, kia ora, kia ora. Well, what a week. We're now 17 days away from the election, and just as we thought dirty politics was coming to its end. Dun 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 dun. We got it.
I am hearing now that Collins has resigned. She is resigning as a minister from cabinet. She has essentially jumped rather than been pushed by the sounds of things. We still do not know the reason why she has gone. We do know, as I was saying, that she is on her last chance.
She resigned from her ministerial portfolios after the Prime Minister received an email that showed Cameron Slater was involved in a coordinated attack against Adam Feely and Collins was helping him. Freely was the now previous director of the Serious Fraud Office. Cameron Slater and another blogger were both being paid to undermine the SFO's credibility. The They were paid by Mark Hodgson. Mark Hodgson is a man who was at the time under investigation
by the SFO
as the director of Hanover Finance, a dodgily managed finance company that collapsed, owing millions of dollars to New Zealand investors.
Yeah, the National Party and Judith Collins have been under continued pressure since the Orovida scandal, then dirty politics. It eventually led to this on Saturday.
Right, good afternoon. I have today advised the Prime Minister that I am resigning as a Minister. The Prime Minister and the National Party have an election to win, and I wish to stop being the subject of daily distractions. I have been the subject of a 2-year smear campaign.
Yes, you heard that. Judith Collins has been a victim of a 2-year smear campaign. So it's also been a week of inquiries. The Security Intelligence Service, a body independent of politics, has launched an independent inquiry into another of the allegations in the book Dirty Politics. This allegation is that SAS documents were specifically declassified so they could be passed on to Whale Oil after he submitted an OIA request. Cameron Slater has been summoned to attend a hearing for an inquiry later this month, and so have a number of staff from the PM's office.
Yeah, the Prime Minister has also launched his own inquiry that's into the SFO emails and Judith Collins' involvement with them. However, he has been criticised for not giving the inquiry the scope to investigate all of the matters in dirty politics.
All in all, it has been a pretty bad week for National. Dirty Politics has finally overcome the party with Key for the first time having to directly address the issues. But what else has been going on? Luckily, we have a few more news stories that aren't about corruption, abuse of power, dirty politics, or generally just a waste of everyone's time.
Or was there? To be honest, has much else gone on? The ACT Party have spent their week releasing press releases saying how everyone else is evil.
John Key and David Cunliffe had their first 2 leaders debate. The press one was on last night, and last Wednesday after our show was the leaders debate from on TVNZ.
So essentially it's just politics as usual. In fact, the biggest policy announcement this week was what you heard from Te Ururoa Flavell, the Maori Party's re-release of their Te Reo Māori policy.
And that was the week that was. Okay. So this is, we've got a few things to just have a chat about. So, now's the time to get in touch. Send us a tweet at Beehive Mandate or give us a call on the tip line. I should be able to find the number for you if you want to call in, and we can have a chat about some of the stories we had this week. If you want to call in, get the pen. This is a long number, a mobile number. We don't have an 0800 number. We can't afford that, unfortunately. 020 400 36354. I'll give you a minute if you need to grab some paper. That's 020 400 36354. Call in, or you can, if you missed that number, you can get it on beehivemandate.co.nz. So,
Anyway, here's a song that's called URL Badman. I thought it went pretty well with all the controversy around blogs.
You heard that. There was some great music there. Okay, so let's just have a chat about some of the stuff that happened earlier on the show and just some general stuff from this week. So earlier we had Trevor Mallard on, and he said that he was happy with, or he wasn't happy with, but everything in the book Dirty Politics is true. I just want to read a little section from the chapter 4, I think it is. It's called The Crusher and the Attack Dog. That's what the chapter's called. This is a conversation.
This is a reading by Saeran Maniparathy. It's the Dirty Politics story.
Yes, it is. The pair worked together using the Whale Oil blog to mock or attack their opponents. A frequent target was Labour MP Trevor Mallard. Here's a relatively harmless example from during the 2011 Rugby World Cup. Quote, Judith Collins. Cam, last night at a parliamentary function for the All Blacks and the Springboks, Mallard made a complete duck of himself. Has anyone told you yet? Cameron Slater. No, what happened? Judith Collins. Well, he was representing Phil as leader of the opposition when he spoke, and he talked about how nice it was that there was a united welcome for the Springboks 30 years ago. Then just down the road, my good mates were battening my other good mates. Q sharp intake of air all around. The Springboks campaign, in his reply, pointed out that he was the Springboks captain. In his reply, pointed out that he was a little boy at the time, 3 years old, but he very graciously dealt with the clodhopper. So Cameron Slater actually changed the word clodhopper, but essentially that was posted on Slater's blog, and what Trevor Mallard thinks what he says is true. So yeah, there's something.
There we go.
for you.
That was amazing reading. Thanks for that, Saeran. Anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about a couple of things quickly. So, on Saturday, the Judith Collins' resignation was announced, and I just thought it was actually, at the time, I was really, why the PM, he was down here in Lower Hutt, at Queensgate, he pulled out of his campaigning to go down to Parliament to announce that, and I couldn't. It seemed weird. It seemed like a big distraction. But I think at the end of the day, it actually paid off for him. It's kind of washed its way out. I mean, dirty politics continues to be in the media, but it's not a headline subject anymore. Judith Collins. Had it been on a Monday, there's higher viewership on the news on Monday. Keeping it on the Saturday was actually a smart idea. I've written about that. You can check that out. beehivemandate.co.nz.
Cool.
That is pretty much it.
That's our show, but thanks for joining us, everyone. Thanks to the MPs who came in. Trevor Mallard from Labour, Gordon Copeland from the Conservatives, and Maniparathy co-leader Te Ururoa Flavell.
If you missed part of the show, you can listen to it later on our site, beehivemandate.co.nz, and you are listening to 107.2 Secret FM.
We'll
Thanks
just
for
leave you
joining
now
us.
with a great song. It was released this week by United Future. It is called... Well, I'm not sure. Does it have a name?
It's called the United Future song. It's quite interesting.
Thanks for joining us. Called Glenn McConnell TNA.
Hey, I'm Saeran Maniparathy. Cheers.
I was born in 1995. The world has changed so much. In my time, I heard my mother cry at night. Cathedral tumble to the ground. My daddy lost his job when they closed the city down. The elections are coming soon, and I don't care who wins, 'cause I'm just a girl who wants to hang out with her friends.